Hey everybody, I hope you're having a really nice day and hopefully you're not too bored. Right now we're still going through the coronavirus quarantine and I feel like a lot of people are getting through this time in their own different ways. Some of you are essential workers, some of you are parents, some of you have been furloughed or laid off, and so I thought I'd share my story on how I'm getting through my time, and I would love it if you shared in the comments what you're doing, anything special, or are you struggling, or do you have any really good ideas that you want to share? That'd be really nice to kind of strike up a conversation. But either way, let's get right to it. So I have 4 major parts of my quarantine survival list. I actually sat down and I thought about it, and I feel like it's a little therapeutic to actually put it on paper and say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do to survive. So the first part is setting yourself a schedule to take care of yourself. And this is real basic. It doesn't have to be too fancy or frilly, but you should be setting a wake up time and a bedtime so that your sleep schedule doesn't get too crazy. I'm a natural nocturnal, so I've been really working on this one myself, trying not to become a total night owl. You should also have a meal time to make sure you're eating the right amount of food and the right type of food. Some people, if they get really anxious, they tend to overeat or not eat enough or not eat the right types of food. So if you can get a menu for yourself and make sure you're eating the right amount of food. And in that vein, you should also make sure you're drinking enough water so you don't get dehydrated. If your schedule is really messed up during this time, it's super easy to forget stuff like that. And if you're stressed out, your body can go into survival mode and you might not realize it, but you're dehydrated and that's not good. So make sure you're drinking enough water. Also, a really good tip is to make sure you're getting your 15 minutes of sunlight per day and that you're exercising. I know this one can be hard if you live in the city and you take your first step outside and there's people out there or cars or what have you, and you want to avoid people. But I feel like even just cracking a window and getting that sunlight in is really good for your mental health. A lot of people don't realize it, but you can get really vitamin D deprived and become depressed as a result if you're not getting your sunlight. So we're like little plants. You need food, water, and sunlight. You also need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in terms of cleaning. Make sure you shower every day. I know that sounds really basic. And also clean your space that you're living in so don't get too decrepit. I feel like the environment you're in can have a huge impact on how you're feeling. So if you get kind of in a rut where you leave stuff out, you might not feel as good. So make sure you're cleaning up after yourself. Also, in terms of money, make sure you file your weekly unemployment claim if you have to. You can also call your student loan provider or even your mortgage or other loan providers and see if you can get a loan deferral. Sometimes they'll even let you defer up to 90 days, and that's super helpful during this time. And finally, make sure that you're renewing your medications and have it delivered to your door. Some places are even delivering meds for free, so that's great. So number 2 on my survival list is to stay engaged. Keep yourself busy. You have a lot of tools at your disposal, even if you don't realize it, especially if you're watching on your phone. I know for a fact that you have a phone and you have access to social media. Make sure you're keeping in touch with people that matter a lot to you, people that you're worried about. You can text them, you can talk to them through Zoom. One thing I did that was really cool was I threw a Netflix party recently. I did one with my friends and I did one with my parents who I can't see right now, and just watching Netflix with them and being able to chat up a storm while we watched the movie was a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend it. Other things you can do puzzles. We have a 2,000 piece jigsaw puzzle that my husband and I have been working through. You can watch Netflix, and I recommend watching documentaries, something that just kind of keeps your brain going. We saw, I know it's not super engaging, but it was fun, was The Tiger King on Netflix. So anything that, you can learn a little about or feel connected to the world through watching, super recommend. On that vein, you can also listen to Audible or read your books. I'm an Audible person just because I can clean or draw while I listen to my books on tape. You can draw if you're a drawer, or you can write if you're a writer, or if you're not and you want to try something new. You know, I've been doing a lot of drawing. If you have pets, you should play with them, snuggle them. This is your time to really bond and connect with your pets. Or if there's other people, like if you're lucky enough to have children during this time, you can spend some real quality time with them, even just, you know, building a pillow fort or whatever. So the third part of my quarantine survival guide is to try something new. A lot of people that I've been talking to, they feel worried that they're not going to spend this time, you know, fruitfully, and they're going to look back and regret that they wasted all this time. Well, you don't have to. You can find something new to learn. My mom, for example, decided to learn Italian, and she's doing it through Duolingo, and I might try that with Spanish. So you can learn a new language. You can order a paint by number. I actually have a paint by number. I've never done one before, and it is kicking my butt. It is massive. It is going to take weeks to do, so I know I'll stay busy. Try new recipes with whatever's in the pantry. Be creative. I had frozen chicken, and I thawed it out the other day, and I made chicken parmesan for the first time. And for the breading, I used crushed up tortilla chips because that's all I had. And it turned out okay. So new recipes, be creative. Start a potted plant garden, which is really cool if you like live in an apartment and you don't have a garden, but you have a window. Plant some seeds in a pot and watch them grow. And you can also try any other new hobby. Yoga, writing, drawing, knitting, crochet, something new. That's the whole key, so that you feel like you've spent this time wisely. And lastly, stay positive. You know, this is going to be hard for some people, but you have to insert some time in your day to be kind of meditative and be thankful for the time. Find anything to be thankful for, even if it's just like, oh, this flower that bloomed outside my window, that's really pretty. Or my cats did something funny today. Or my husband came home a little early from work and we got to spend some extra time together. Whatever it is, you can be positive and limit your news exposure. Like, you know, we know a lot already about where we need to be and what we need to be doing. There's really no reason to be glued to the TV at this point, unless you want to focus on the bad stuff and the sad stuff. And I feel like, you know, like you turn on CNN and there's an actual like coronavirus ticker that's going on with statistics that's being updated on the regular. Don't do that to yourself. Seriously, instead go for a walk, you know, or sit on your stoop or sit by a window, meditate, be thankful for what you do have, you know. And I feel like reaching out and sharing that with people is also really important. If you're worried about somebody, you know, reach out to them and say, hey, I was thinking of you today and I wanted to share this recipe with you, or craft, or, you know, you want to try this thing with me. Anything to stay positive. So those are my quarantine survival tips, and I hope that at least one of those tips was new for you and helpful. Otherwise, I'd love to hear what you guys are doing at home to kind of stay positive and stay sane and healthy, of course. So for those of you who are still here and watching my video and listening, I do want to talk a little bit about the piece that I'm working on. It is one of the prompts from the Magical Art Challenge for the month of April. It was day 3, which was transport. And there's a lot of things that you can do for a magical transportation idea, such as a witch on a broom, or a magical portal, oh, maybe a magical train. Either way, I went with Alice in Wonderland, and she's falling down the rabbit hole. And when I was a kid, Alice in Wonderland was one of my favorite stories to read by Lewis Carroll. I didn't realize he was kind of an odd duck at the time, but as a child, I really did enjoy the story. So I drew her in my sketchbook with a number 2 pencil. I traced it with my favorite Staedtler 0.3 and 0.1 pens, and I used a kneaded eraser to clean up my lines. Took a picture of it because I don't have a scanner, and put it into Fire Alpaca, where I cleaned up the lines significantly, worked on her face a little bit, and colored her in. I'm not too happy with the color scheme. I didn't realize until later that my computer color settings, the color balance, is really off. So her hair straight up looks green, but it is what it is. The part that I am happy with, I would have to say, is the pose. I worked really hard to get her pose. I did like maybe 5 or 6 different loose sketches before I fell on this one. And the way her dress folds, I've always struggled with clothing folds. And so getting her dress in a fun composition where, you know, she's falling down the hole, so there's that motion of falling, but it's a slow fall, was a lot of fun. And also, I'm super happy with how her hair came out. Hair is another thing that I struggle to do, especially long flowing wavy hair. And I feel like I actually nailed it for the most part. The background is a little weak, but you know, by the end of this drawing, I was so tired. I was like, okay, cop out. I'm just gonna do some roses and shade out, you know, a basic symbolic look of the rabbit hole with some action lines and call it a day. But either way, I had a lot of fun with this piece. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. The lines are pretty clean, and fire alpaca is a heck of a tool to use. I'm really getting used to it and I'm enjoying using it. I highly recommend it for anyone who's looking to even start using digital art as a medium. When you pair that with a decent tablet, the one that I'm using is the Wacom Bamboo, you can get some pretty good results. I had to throw on a stabilizer for the last piece and this piece. I'll probably use the stabilizer for everything from now on because it's a game changer. It really is. It makes your lines a lot less wobbly. And as you can see my process, I do a number of strokes, and I do a couple strokes before I land on one that I want to go with. So the stabilizer kind of helps eliminate some of that, because I was using GIMP before and it was just a hot mess. Anyways, enough talk about quarantine, enough talk about my art. I would love to hear what you guys think either way. If you have suggestions for another video, ideas for how to stay sane during quarantine, and any ideas for how I can improve on my art or do, you know, future pieces, that would be super appreciated. Again, please do hit that like button and hit subscribe for more of my crazy ramblings during the coronavirus struggle. I would really appreciate it. Thanks, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Stay happy, healthy, and safe out there.